I'm Alice McBain, and I'm the author behind Author vs. AI. If you'd like to learn more, please follow along on my website, authorversusai.com. In this video, I'm sharing tips and tricks about how I'm writing a book a week and how you can do it too. The topic this week is focused around your opening chapter. I already spoke about the first few opening lines of your book and how to hook in your reader, but then you've got to keep that momentum going for the rest of your first chapter. And here are a few tips on what to do, as well as what not to do. I'm going to start out with a huge don't. In fact, probably the most important don't for new writers, and that is don't info dump. What's an info dump? It's where you give a huge section of narrative with no dialogue, no action, and just backstory. Whether that's the world's backstory, the character's backstory, or the situational backstory, an info dump basically stops a story in its tracks. And if you're doing it in your first chapter, you've just lost your reader. The joy of writing a novel is that you have lots of room. You don't have to explain everything in the first chapter. You've got to leave breadcrumbs for the reader to follow. Drop a few here, a few there, and they'll keep on following along with where you plan to lead them. And so here we come to a big do. Do allow some mystery in your writing, even if you're not writing in the mystery genre. Readers like to turn the page to find out what happens next. But if you've told them everything in chapter 1, they don't have to keep reading at all. So drop hints, some big, some little, but hinting at a character's backstory, especially early on in the book, shows the reader that you have a lot more to tell them. And they'll be excited to find out what it is, and they'll keep reading. Another don't have pages and pages of setting. Setting is boring in a first chapter, and a little bit goes a long way. It can be great to fill in sections where your character interacts with the setting, but if you have 10 pages describing the world and nothing actually happens, that slows down the pacing immensely and doesn't allow the reader to have anything to grab a hold of. Readers connect with characters, not with landscapes. Landscapes are just where your characters are. Another do of my list: while your whole book from first chapter to last should have a story arc, each chapter should at least have a mini arc too. It should read sort of like a short story, and it has action, character development, and something cool that happens along the way and at the ending. So, my last piece of advice: cliffhangers. They're great at the end of every chapter, the first one especially, but they're great to have throughout. A chapter ending is a natural stopping point for a reader where they might put the book down. And every time a reader puts down a book, they might not pick it up again. Cliffhangers at the end keep them turning the page. The biggest compliment I've ever had from a reader is, "I stayed up all night reading your book." Cliffhangers, baby. Gets them every time. Hope these tips are helpful with writing your first chapter. Any comments or questions? Drop them in the chat. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Until then, happy writing.